The console war is over, and from the early days of Nintendo vs. Sega, the battle lines evolved with time, eventually becoming a three-way clash between Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox. But no more. Xbox's next console, from early reports at least, seems to just be a PC, and even the CEO of Microsoft claims they aren't competing with others in gaming, but with short-form content. Nintendo's new generation is off to a lightning start with the Switch 2, even widely outpacing sales of the Switch 1. And PlayStation, well, they are just chugging along in their own lane now, gladly selling even Xbox games, and soon to be Halo. Hello, everybody. It's your boy Jmulls, and to quote Bob Dylan, the times, they are a changin'.
You hit Lorraine. No, sir.
Let's begin by looking at Xbox. After getting thoroughly whomped in the Xbox One generation and watching the rapid success of both PlayStation and Nintendo, they over time began to go in a new direction, bringing their games to PC, trying to bring the Xbox brand itself to PC since, well, they are Microsoft, they own Windows, and then going the Netflix route for gaming with Game Pass. Now they are pushing their games onto once rival platforms because a sale is a sale after all. While Xbox will probably still put out hardware for a good long while, the goal of said hardware will almost certainly be different to a traditional console, meant to lock people into an ecosystem to sell both first and third-party games. Xbox simply wants people playing Xbox games, whether that's on their own hardware, on a PC, on Steam, on a handheld, or on a PlayStation. They just want you playing their games. I think it's as simple as that. And to get a look at Xbox's overall aim, let's look at an interview Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella gave to TBPN. To quote, "First of all, now we are the largest publisher after the Activision. So therefore we want to be a fantastic publisher, similar approach to what we did with Office. We're going to be everywhere in every platform, so we want to make sure, whether it's consoles, whether it's the PC, whether it's mobile, whether it's cloud gaming, or the TV, so we just want to make sure the games are being enjoyed by gamers everywhere. Second, we also want to do innovative work in the system side on the console and on the PC. And it's kind of funny that people think about the console PC as two different things. We built the console because we wanted it to build a better PC, which could then perform for gaming. And so I kind of want to revisit some of that conventional wisdom, but at the end of the day, console has an experience that is unparalleled. It delivers performance that's unparalleled. Cutting in here, unless you're on a PC with enough power in it. Okay, back to the quote. That pushes, I think, the system forward, so I'm really looking forward to the next console, the next PC gaming. But most importantly, the game business model has to be where we have to invent maybe some new interactive media as well, because after all, gaming's competition is not other gaming. Gaming's competition is short-form video, and so if we as an industry don't continue to innovate both how we produce, what we produce, how we think about distribution, the economic model, best way to innovate is to have good margins, because that's the way you can fund. It's very easy to look at this statement and say that it's categorically stupid and separate to the actual reality of the games industry, and while, yeah, that's kind of true, I think Microsoft desperately wants one thing and one thing only. Whatever the next big trend in gaming is, whether that is subscription services to rent games or cloud gaming or whatever, they want to be the first one in the door for when either the demand is there or the technology comes online, to properly capitalize on that new thing by having the infrastructure and software in place to be able to properly capitalize on it in a similar way that the Switch was able to capitalize on people's desire to play traditional console games, both at home as a traditional console and also on the go. It wasn't the most powerful piece of kit of all time, but it was powerful enough to support that playstyle. And Xbox wants that same level of success from things like Game Pass, cloud gaming, all the while shipping as many games as possible in whatever way they can, because at the end of it all, a sale is a sale. Why care about a loss-leading console sale when your main goal is to simply sell the game or various services? Look, ultimately, time will tell if Xbox's strategy works out for them, but I think they are messing up the golden rule of gaming, keeping the focus on the games themselves. PR for Microsoft feels like it's at an all-time low, from seemingly triple downing on the utilization of AI, though to be fair, most giant corporations are going to do that anyways. Some will just be more vocal about it, to increasing the prices of Game Pass or hardware or even software. Dude, remember when they thought they could sell Outer Worlds 2 at $80? Look, you don't need me to tell you that PR for Xbox is seemingly at rock bottom. And the funny thing, none of that is going to matter if they start putting out games people consistently like and want. That's kind of just the reality of the games industry. Your controversy only lasts until your next great game, or even just the anticipation for your next great game. And with Xbox almost, well, not even almost, they just kind of are taking a more publisher role, it's not like you'll have to go out of your way to get a whole new box in order to play the games. Even if you don't have an Xbox, so long as you have a PlayStation or a PC, if a particular game interests you enough, you can just buy it and play it. And then all of a sudden, that's money in their pockets. The question in my eyes is just, can Microsoft still consistently put out games that people want to play? For a while, they barely could even put out a game that people like, but now it feels like they are on a better track record quality-wise. But if you care about the hardware, which at this point I'm not entirely sure even Microsoft does, at least to the same level or in the same style as they did before, then it's fair to say there's just not much point in going Xbox right now, when all their new games and exclusives are elsewhere as well now. I don't like exclusives conceptually, mainly because I just don't see the point in advocating for them as a consumer when I just want to play good games and not cheerlead for some giant corporation that couldn't care less about any of us individually. But the reality is, people are drawn to them because people care about the games. It's how Xbox got off the ground initially, because people wanted to play Halo, back when Halo did have that sway. And now Xbox just doesn't have anything to that caliber. They mess up consistently their biggest IP, and their games come out to rival platforms now anyways. So unless you're just some giant fan of Game Pass, what's the point in getting an Xbox instead of a PlayStation, or let alone a PC, which also has arguably a better version of Game Pass on it? Going back to what Satya Nadella was talking about before, why would they care either? They own Windows, why not capitalize on that? Look, Xbox shot themselves in the foot for generations now with constant missteps, poor releases, and trying to compete with short-form content. Like seriously, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, because that stuff is supplementary, and people still want to play games. It's not like gaming has died down or is less popular as something. And if this notion was true, we would see other platforms have similar issues with competing with short-form content. But they don't, because they understand they're trying to sell people games, not TikTok. And if you put out good games that people are excited for, that want to play, people will come. But for so long, Xbox was focused more on how to monetize these games and get every penny out of them they possibly can. They just simply lost their way. Now, speaking of a company that has their finger firmly on the pulse of this industry, let's talk Nintendo and how they have basically done the opposite of Xbox and succeeded for it. To start off the Nintendo section, I just want to highlight a part of a message from the president of Nintendo, Shuntaro Furukawa, to shareholders and investors from November 5th. All of these business activities are guided by two principles: grow the Nintendo IP fanbase and foster long-term relationships with consumers. Nintendo remains dedicated to thoroughly refining each product and service to ensure satisfaction, by working to help foster an enduring fondness for Nintendo IP. We hope to become a beloved part of people's lives across generations. Here's a fun game. Which sounds more appealing to you? Whatever the hell Satya said in that interview before, or this? Is it any wonder that they are reporting that the Switch 2 cumulative sell-in surpassed 10 million units as of September 30th? The thing came out this year. Those aren't my words either. Okay, besides the end bit there. They are direct from the Nintendo 6-month financial results briefing from November 5th. Nintendo also said this marks the highest global sales figure for any dedicated video game platform from Nintendo in the first 4 months following its launch. This is for the console that had so much bad PR leading up to its release, and if online discussion were to be believed, you would have thought that this thing would sell as many copies as Concord, but it's absolutely dominating. And heck, even if you just look at Japan-only numbers, the Switch 1 is still selling very well, even outpacing the PlayStation 5, let alone the Xbox. Granted, that is only Japan, and there are other markets. But, again, it just seems as if all roads lead to Nintendo right now. Nintendo simply understands the game. Nothing else matters but the games. If you make games, and you make a lot of games at that a lot of people want to play, you will have an audience. People will come to you or stick with you because that is the alpha and the omega. You can do whatever you want, get into whatever controversy that you want, swing your legal hammer around like you just don't care, so long as you make the games. They don't appeal to everyone, but chances are there's probably a Nintendo franchise or two that you're interested in, and for a lot of people, they simply love the games and IP Nintendo have cultivated over the years. Even my favorite gaming IP is a Nintendo property with Xenoblade Chronicles. Not only do Nintendo put out a lot of games that a lot of people care about, but they let you play them the way you want to because of the form factor of the Switch and the Switch 2. Sure, may not be as powerful as other pieces of hardware on the market, but who cares? Are the games playable? Do they play fun enough? You're telling me I can just undock my Switch and go out with it and play? Or go lay in my bed or in the other room however I want? And if I want to just sit down and play a regular game, dock it and I'm good to go? It's easy, it's simple, it's intuitive. Nintendo gets out of the way and just focuses in on letting people buy games and play games because they know that's all they have to do. They could put out the Switch 2 at $450 because they knew, and I feel like we all knew, that both Xbox and PlayStation couldn't help themselves. They were going to go above that next generation. And you know what? We gave them even too much credit at that. They couldn't help themselves even worse than we already thought, because they already raised the prices for the current generation. So mere months after Nintendo unveiled the Switch 2, and right when people were saying the Switch 2 was overpriced, their very competition made the Switch 2 look like the affordable option in comparison. So now Nintendo's next generation was an iteration of a piece of hardware that was widely beloved and was also cheaper than many forms of their main competition's current generation. Looking at it like that, is it any surprise why the Switch 2 is doing so well? It's actually impressive how, for the most important stuff, Nintendo just doesn't really mess it up. Sure, the online isn't ideal, sure you can argue maybe the Switch 2 is overpriced and that, and I'll agree with you here that $80 games are stupid, but they get the truly important stuff right. Provide hardware that people like and lets them play games conveniently and provide a swath of exclusive games that people want. That's not only how you obtain an audience in the console scene, it's how you retain them as well. It's simple, but seemingly no one but Nintendo gets this idea, so Nintendo reaps all the benefits of knowing how to play the game. But the odd one out in all of this is PlayStation. So what's their deal? I have called PlayStation the Apple of gaming before, and I feel rather strongly about that. I mean, it's not meant to be some remark on the quality, it's just that PlayStation treasures the brand and the ecosystem. And their MO is that they don't need to be the best individual thing on the market, just retain what they currently have, and if the competition provides something fresh and new, then make some version of that so people don't feel as if they're missing out, and then just slap your brand on everything. Oh, Xbox games with gold is cool? Okay, PlayStation Plus. Oh, Game Pass? Okay, PlayStation Plus. Oh, hey, VR seems to be all the rage now. Okay, PlayStation VR. Wow, everyone is doing DLSS and FSR. Okay, let's do PISA. Oh, wow, people love the Switch and handheld gaming PCs. Those are really cool. Let's put out the Portal. Okay, sure, maybe it's not as good as other things, but it gives you something of a similar experience. So again, you don't feel as if you're missing out. PlayStation was kind of happy for a while there, making only a few big blockbuster games and allowing for variety to populate the platform in the form of second and third-party games, utilizing the strategy of platform-timed exclusivity before selling the games on rival platforms. And now it seems like PlayStation is almost following in Xbox's tracks with really investing in the PC platform. We have seen the job position listing, we have seen them put more and more games onto PC, we have seen them trying to attach PlayStation Network to PC as well, and while they are definitely a bit slow about it, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them invest more into the PC market where they don't view it as strict competition. Heck, even PlayStation are putting games now onto Xbox with Helldivers 2. And you could argue that's kind of the same thing as Xbox putting Xbox games onto PlayStation, but it feels to me like PlayStation is doing it simply because they just don't view Xbox to be viable competition for them anymore. So you might as well capitalize on the people that already have an Xbox and sell games to them. Does it really matter at this point? Like we talked about at the beginning of the video, the console wars are pretty much dead at this point. If people want a non-Nintendo console, going PlayStation is just kind of the obvious thing to do at this point, because like, why get an Xbox? So it goes back to the logic of simply sell games to as many people as you can. Will we ever see a PC launcher for PlayStation? I think it's possible. Or they just simply don't think they can ever realistically compete with Steam, especially since companies like Epic and Microsoft haven't really succeeded on that front. It's kind of an obvious thing to say, but when they showcase what their next gen actually looks like, I think that will be very telling. It won't surprise me at all if they find a way to embrace the hybrid portable console idea with a device that's far more in line with the Switch or the Steam Deck than the PlayStation Portal. Because at this point, how do you really get excitement for the next generation outside of, we have a really cool game? It's not like previously we can show off a big graphical leap in quality that just doesn't really exist anymore. I don't think we're ever going to have a graphical leap in quality going from one generation to the next like we had going from the PlayStation 1 to the 2 to the 3. I think those days are gone. It'll be about form factor, convenience, frame rate, processing load, and getting games to be bigger and bigger. Sure, there's still room for some improvements graphically, but nothing to the degree that we used to get. And I don't know about you guys, but it feels to me over the last year or so when it comes to PlayStation State of Plays, there's been a different feel to them in terms of the types of games they put out. Sure, they still do the big cinematic third-person action games. I think they'll always do those, but there's seemingly been more of an emphasis on, well, games that aren't that either. I think the console wars are pretty much over. Xbox will still put out hardware, but their focus is far more on the publisher side of things. And Nintendo and PlayStation both have their own niches, with PlayStation trying to appeal more to power players, whereas Nintendo appeals far more to the casual market and people that just prefer Nintendo games. Sounds a bit obvious, but Nintendo games are kind of their own feel, and there's a giant market for just that. And in the background of all of this, where seemingly peace agreements have been made, the various factions return to their lands and just go on about their day, in the background of all of this, you just have PC looking down from above, judgingly, always judgingly.
But not today.
I'll tell you who the real winner of the console wars was. PC gamers like myself. Hey, you love to see it. Why? Because now we get the benefits of both PlayStation and Xbox games, all in the comforts of our Steam library. Once again, Gabe Newell does nothing and still somehow ends up winning. You know, there's probably a lesson to be learned there. But who cares about lessons? We have games to play. So here's where you come in. Leave a comment down below with what side of the console war were you on for the longest time. I grew up as a PlayStation player. Also as a Nintendo player, but I was primarily PlayStation. Were you team PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo? Or were you even team Sega? I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions, and hear your perspectives. And while you're down there, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. And the console wars weren't the only great debates going on in gaming. In Halo, there's been a war. A straight up slaughter of epic, and I mean epic proportions. Sprint and modern mechanics in my Halo. Get them out of here. Can you guess which side I fall under? If you want to find out more about what this whole debate is all about and what's going on, you should check out this video right here for more. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again!